One spot in the finals has already been clinched. The other one is on the line tomorrow. We are Golden Goal, brought to you by OddsChecker. As always, I'm Matias Weilmann. He's Martino Puccio from The Athletic, State of the Play pod co-host. Martino saw a lot of close games, saw a lot of dominant games. This probably falls in the latter category.
Yeah, I mean, this was just really the team that played the best against Croatia, besides the team that's playing tomorrow in this tournament. I mean, just you're completely floored by this because you see the attack that Brazil had, the more complete side, and Argentina completely played a better match than Brazil did against Croatia, and it was so well deserved. Even if you were skeptical of the penalty, there was two other goals that Argentina got. I mean, that third one by Messi is one of the greatest assists that you'll ever see in a World Cup match. And then again, Julian Alvarez. I mean, this seriously, I don't care if I'm patting myself on the back for this. Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez have been the entire difference for this team when it comes to pushing them to the next level. Is Julian Alvarez, with 4 goals for them throughout this tournament, is really the player that I thought Lautaro would have been. And now if Lautaro just takes a back seat and is able, so much less pressure after what we saw, he hits that final penalty against the Netherlands, and then just to put them in this spot, it's just a different Argentinian side. If you've been following them for a very long time, from the low lows of the Copa America finals against Chile, and then again to just see what they did against Brazil in Brazil, and then now this, where they go to another World Cup final, first since 2014. I mean, it's just incredible, and now they have a real shot to finally do it for the first time since 1986.
Yeah, I think Scaloni listened to you. I think the big difference has been listening to Golden Goal and putting in those difference makers. You talked about it. I mean, Croatia kind of coming into this game, Argentina was a minus favorite. And we were like, okay, this is a little disrespectful to Croatia. Not that Argentina doesn't deserve it, but Croatia had just been so good. We just saw them back-to-back games winning in pens. Like, they deserve to be respected a little more. And they looked pretty good for the first about 30 minutes of this game. My no goals in the first half looked pretty good for a while. Obviously, I will trade that for an Argentina win. That is not a hot take there. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. That first goal goes in, and just the complete complexity of this game changes, flips Argentina's way. These were things that we kind of had questions about, but you mentioned it. I mean, they were able to do something that Brazil wasn't, and that it was not only create those chances, because Brazil has definitely had them, but it was finish those chances. A couple of fantastic goals from Alvarez. And again, Messi was just a stud again today.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. A player that's 35 and a half years old that we thought had a hamstring injury in the first 15 minutes goes down the pitch in the 60-something minute, dribbles past one of the best center backs in this tournament in Guardiola, and dishes it off to Julian Alvarez. I mean, it's not possible. That's the best player that has ever existed. And I don't see how... it's hard to bank against that now when he's playing like this. The pressure, again, we said it prior to the tournament, of winning an international trophy does not exist for Messi anymore. There was one thing that he always felt that he had to prove, and the pressure was coming from within that own fan base and country. And I understand it when you get compared to Maradona, but there's no pressure if you've been seeing this, and all of his teammates are there to fight for them. And I gotta say, Tagliafico stepping up was insane for them after Acuna went down, and then just the midfield play. They seem to get better every single round. It's really impressive when they went up against one of the better midfields in this tournament. Hats off to Argentina, and again, that's a pre-tournament pick to make it to the final, and it was our winner. But we'll see what happens. But kudos to them, and this is why you play those future markets as well.
And it looked like Croatia just kind of ran out of steam at a certain point. I mean, it's just back-to-back games. I didn't play extra time and just penalties. It becomes draining. We don't have to take a look at our picks from yesterday because, quite frankly, I'll be blunt here. We did not do well. But you had Argentina to qualify, but you had parlayed that with under 2.5. I don't think anyone saw, over 2.5 team goals. Though, shout out Slop Rules for hitting over 1.5 team goals for Argentina for plus money. I held it down with under 7.5 corners at plus 105. I guess we'll take that. Big public backing and big public wins for this game. A lot of people bet Leo Messi anytime goal. Hit that, obviously. It was funny. I put out a TikTok right before the game started. We both took the unders here. Everyone took over 2.5. I think it was like 60% of the tickets. Everyone took both teams to score. course, those hit, and also Julian Alvarez to score hits as well. So Argentina is into the finals. We will talk more about who they will be facing when that time comes later in the week. We do have one other game to get, though. That is tomorrow's game. But before we get there, again, a reminder, we're giving away $500 this whole month on YouTube. All you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube page at OddsChecker US, and you're automatically entered. You can, comment on any video, and you get that extra entry. Tell them who sent you. Tell Matias sent you. Tell Martino sent you. Anyone. And drop your best bet for the rest of the tournament. If you're interested, you're automatically entered for another entry. So again, subscribe for one entry and comment for another. The second game we have to get to is more surprising than this one, or at least the outcome of what the teams are going to be playing. It's France and it's Morocco. One of these teams was one of the favorites coming in. The other one made history as the first ever African nation to make the semifinals. So, Martino, this is obviously a David and Goliath. Not the first time we've seen it. Where are you leaning?
That's the funny thing. We say David and Goliath, but I'm not even too sure at this point. Again, this has been one of the best defensive stretches we've had. It's one of the best defensive stretches we've ever seen, and they shut down a team that just scored 6 goals the match prior to that. Again, France has everything that they need to win this. And again, there's been some rumors about Upamecano and Adrien Rabiot missing training today due to being sick. So that's one of the main midfielders that they have, and they're starting center back. So that's incredibly massive. We have to see what happens with them. So you have to, again, monitor that kind of stuff. I think there will be some movement, and especially if you're a France backer, I don't even necessarily think they need Upamecano in this match. I really don't. Camavinga also as well, if you were to replace Adrien Rabiot, it is more than good enough to do that. There's arguments that Camavinga is a better player. And Upamecano, listen, William Saliba, this is where we talk about the depth of France. They've already lost so many players still in the semifinal. And now they're here again where they could just substitute players in those two positions that are arguably better. And better than what Morocco has to offer. But for me, it's really just under 2.5 in France to qualify. It's a plus 103 number. And then also both teams to score no. Because at this point, Morocco's only conceded on an own goal. Why are we really going to go against what we've seen all tournament? France doesn't necessarily dominate in large numbers in terms of scoring like we've seen. We saw it against Australia. But we saw last round against a good defensive side like England, they were just able to get 2 goals. It's not like they were berating them all match and getting tons of chances. So I think there might be few and far between. And even with that, how many chances are Morocco going to create in this? I think this could be a very close one throughout. That's why I like the under more so. And then again, both teams to score no is just based off of this trend on how great Morocco is playing defensively. But what is their strategy for Kylian Mbappe? I think England have better numbers to double and triple Mbappe and get away with it as opposed to what Morocco has to offer. But again, Hakimi versus Mbappe is the matchup. It's everything. And how do you handle Olivier Giroud, who's one of the shiftiest players inside the penalty area? So it's really just a lot of factors in this. But for me, just my gut goes with France because of everything we've been saying.
And interestingly enough, Griezmann actually leads France with most expected goals added. And, that's someone's name we haven't even called that much. Obviously, you've been talking about Mbappe. Giroud has had a really nice tournament so far. I kind of lean the same way here. I like the under. You can take certain bands, which I kind of like in this one, a 2-1, 3-1, or 4-1. I doubt it's 4-1. But I see more of a 3-1 or a 2-1 finish. You can get that at plus 400. I believe it was on FanDuel. I think that Morocco probably doesn't get on the scoreboard, but I've said that before, and I've been consistently wrong. And I do think this is just going to end up being Morocco is going to play well, but it's just not going to be enough. I think France is too good of a team. But again, how many times have we said this at this point? We said it with Spain. We said it with Germany earlier in the tournament. I said it with Portugal. There's got to be a certain point where you've got to stop saying it because I've been wrong every single time. I hate to admit it. But if I had to take a bet, it would be France by a goal. You can get that at plus 240 on Bet365.
Yeah, and again, too, there's nothing wrong with taking Morocco to advance. I don't think so. Just to advance. I mean, if anything, why bother on method? Why bother on the 90 minutes? If you think Morocco can do this, just take that. Seriously, just take that. And again, if you're doing that, if you like that as well, that's when you start doing the combinations. The combinations are the most important part right now. if you want to get that down pat. I still think there is some decent value, say, if you were to have France over Argentina within this, because that number can change easily when you get to that match day. Like, who is healthy? Is it favoring Argentina? How does Messi's leg feel ahead of that match? I think a lot of those things are important. Or are there better numbers and better value towards Argentina over France? I think you have to weigh those two things prior to this match being played, because obviously then the number changes entirely when we know what the matchup is. For me, I think it's totally worth looking at that. And again, out of the three teams left, anybody can beat anybody. All bets are off with that, right? So like we have our intuition. We lean one way with how we like to see this thing, but don't be shocked if anything happens. I've seen Leicester City in this sport. We're talking about one team just needs to do it for at a maximum 240 minutes with penalties, right? Like this is not far fetched. Anything goes. The pressure and the intensity is higher than anything you will ever see in your life, especially if this is your first World Cup final that you're betting on. I don't even think I was I wasn't old enough the last time Messi was in this World Cup final. So that's how crazy it gets. It's just, to me, it's just insane, and I hope people have enjoyed it, because there is nothing better than betting on knockout football, and it's shown, I think.
Yeah, it has been fantastic. Just some numbers from DraftKings here in terms of where the public is leaning. Morocco is getting 50% of the handle, 46% of the bets to win outright. To advance in general, though, that number drops to 38% of the handle, 42% of the bets. So people are banking on Morocco to win, but if you get to the advanced stages, which is interesting because that's kind of the opposite of what you were saying, France starts taking the lead there. Okay, so I'm going to put you up against the wall here. Who's Argentina playing in the finals?
France. I got to go with my pre-tournament prediction at this point. Yeah, I have Argentina versus France. I think the path lined up for both of them. I was thinking it would have been a lot tougher in the semifinal for Argentina. That was probably the most surprising part in all of this. We'll see what happens, man. I really do think that at this point, just the way Argentina are playing, it's a night and day difference. This is the team that was going undefeated towards the all-time record. This is the team I recognize, not the one that we saw against Saudi Arabia and in the group stage. I mean, they get better almost every single round in the knockout stage now, and that's excuse me, that's dangerous momentum. And when momentum is like Messi on your side, and this, by the way, extra day of rest is key. Okay. And then on top of it, we're talking about a guy that needs rest more than any player left at this point is Messi. So the fact that he has more rest now, I think that favors them. I just don't think they're scared. I think there was so much more pressure in 2014. There really was. And again, this is why they still had a pretty good number prior to the match today as the future. Because I think France was like plus 110 and Argentina was around the 140, 130. It really depends where you're shopping.
Some went up to 170 even.
Yeah, exactly. And they fluctuated more than anyone this tournament. And well, the same goes for France as well. But I mean, kudos to you if you just kept on hammering those tickets, because there's a lot of people that that have gotten like great value over the course of the tournament.
Absolutely. So, we both went with Argentina to win. We told you last week to go with France and Argentina in the finals. If you listened to us, you're halfway there. If you didn't, can't go back in time, unfortunately. He's Martino, Puccio. I'm Matias, Weilmann. We are Gold and Gold, brought to you by OddsChecker. We are going to be talking to you on Thursday as a part of the spread. We're going to be recapping what we had seen to this point, kind of taking a look back at what we had seen in the tournament up to this point, and we are going to have your World Cup finals for you. And of course, we got one other match. We've got the third place match, because if there's a match on, it's time for you to bet on it. So he's Martino. I'm Matias. We will talk to you then. Till then, hope all your bets hit.